Hi, welcome to Shared Frequencies and the Space Between, where heart meets brain and life happens in the messy middle.
We're two best friends navigating a new chapter, sharing a space, finding our rhythm and tuning into life's transitions.
This is a space for deep and meaningful conversations about growth, connection, and everything in between. Let's tune in to today's frequency. Hi, and welcome to episode 11 of Shared Frequencies and the Space Between. And as always, I'm Elle.
And I'm Don.
And in this episode, we're going to talk about the physical frequency.
Yes.
Our relationship to body image and health journeys and just a little crossover of conversations we've had previously.
Yeah.
Building a little bit of that, but very much with that physical element to it.
Yeah, we talked a bit in the last, what was it? It would have been episodes 8 and 9. We talked about our mental health journeys.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we both have things, as everybody does, that touch on the kind of physical as well. So first of all, I'm glad we made it to 11. It was when we started in episode 10, we were like, episode 11 if we make it.
Yes,
so.
Yeah. Episode 10, if you made it through, thank you for staying with us.
Yeah.
If this is the first episode that you're diving into, then thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
And you might be in for a shock for episode 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm literally just off the phone with my sister, who is listening. Thank you so much for listening. And we appreciate all feedback and comments that we get on this. We have some very supportive people
Yes.
in our network listening in and weighing in when we've raised questions and things. But she literally just said, yeah, so, now I've listened to it and I've listened to it chronologically. I'm assuming that there are people like Dawn who just jumps into podcasts and listen to them randomly. And I'm assuming you're like me and listening to things chronologically. And I was like,
yeah.
Yep.
Well, it depends. It depends on the podcast. So, I mean, Simon Sinek's probably a great example of the fact that you started right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Whereas I kind of just go, what looks like an interesting one from it, which is great to begin with. But then you start, you forget what you've listened to, and you start getting 20 minutes when you're going, oh, I've listened to that one before, but I'll listen to it again. So progress can be a lot slower.
Well, especially if you're in the car, right? Because in the car, it'll jump a bit weird. And
yes.
Especially if you're listening to a platform that will rename Nameless.
No, name them.
Name and shame. Audible.
Yeah.
Do better, guys. Do better.
Yeah.
Let me listen to them chronologically and just stop jumping.
They have this really weird thing that you can listen to the first one and then it will automatically then go and play the latest one, which is the newest one that you haven't already listened to.
Exactly, that you haven't already listened to.
Yeah.
Now, you can line up episodes on Audible. So you can...
Kind of.
No, you can.
Yeah.
You can. So if you're listening to one, you can then go in and say, oh, I want you to play this one next.
Yes.
But then again, if you're on a longer car journey, for example, and it's more than 2 episodes, then that doesn't
it's 2025. It's way more hard work than it needs to be. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this I suppose this podcast is...
episode.
Yeah, sorry, this episode. I was getting really good at that.
You were getting really good, and then you just created a little trap for yourself there.
But in fairness, I kind of in my defence, I only got 4 hours sleep last night.
Yeah.
I went for a nap. We went to the cinema. I went for a nap before we went to the cinema, and I still managed to fall asleep.
Right. Hey, excuse you.
I'm getting hugs and cuddles and loves from the beastie.
Or as the reality is, forcefully requested to pet her.
Yes. Yes. So I still managed to fall asleep in the cinema.
To the point where he was snoring and I had to shake his arm and be like, dude.
Yeah, I didn't miss too much.
No.
Didn't miss too much. So yeah, so this is kind of
Well, your fitness tracker says that it was only 28 minutes.
I don't even think it was maybe quite that long. I think that's,
I don't know.
But my fitness tracker kind of catches me as I'm dozing off. Anyway, regardless, I fell asleep in the cinema. Yeah, so this is a podcast which is a bit about us as opposed to
episode.
Yeah. This is a.
Do you want me to just like?
No. I will get there. I will get there in 20 minutes' time. If I'm still having to repeat it and repeating it wrong, then you can
Okay.
pattern. Yeah, this is an episode,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of just a bit about our previous life and leading up to where we are now, as opposed to our situation right now as such. It's about us as opposed to our situation right now. More so.
Yes, as in
Yes.
right. Okay, so what you mean by that it's about us as individuals, but
Yes.
not related to us living together.
Yes.
So that's where this differs a little bit
Yes.
from what
Some
the
of the
more
other-
recent episodes have been
Yes.
to some extent. Yeah,
Yes.
no, that's correct. Yeah.
So
Yeah, it was so after the last couple of episodes with the mental health check-ins, and then I don't know what it is about social media at the moment, but there's just a lot about health. It's almost like January's repeating itself.
yes,
Like it's almost like the adverts on social media are repeating themselves.
because January wasn't long enough.
Oh, it's like January always feels like 3
Yeah.
months long. So what's coming up a lot on my social media, at least, is a lot of like weight loss apps and weight loss programs and routines and meal prepping and exercise routines and gym memberships and like all of those health things, which I guess to some extent makes sense because, well, we're halfway through April now.
The weather's getting better.
So no, but it's to get people ready for bikini season.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
and especially as a woman on social media, like that whole, oh, you have to have your beach bod because you can't possibly show yourself in public in a bikini or a bathing suit without having the perfect beach bod.
Yeah,
So I'm assuming that's where that sort of
possibly,
comes from.
or very likely. Yeah.
Do you get those kind of
Um,
apps?
I do, but I'm at the age now where the ones I get are for if you're an older gentleman type thing, so it's like doing exercises whilst sitting on your chair, so you don't actually have to get up and things,
Oh, I get them as
um,
well. They're called like lazy girl exercises.
Okay, yeah.
And they're like 28-day challenge and you can
Yeah.
do it on a chair.
And if
which
you
makes
start now, by the 30th of April, you will, you
Listen
will be an
up,
Adonis.
girls. Monday, the 18th of, or whatever, you
Yeah.
know, they're like, we're starting this challenge. And you're
Yeah.
like, oh, come on.
Yeah. So that's what today's episode will be about.
Yes. We are doing it a little bit different than we've done the other episodes. So we talked about making, like, trying to structure it and, trying to do it a bit more curated.
Yep.
A bit like what we did with the mental health, like whether or not we'll talk about your journey and then talk about my journey. And then, I think because I've missed the conversation part
Yes.
of our relationship
Yeah.
over the last few weeks, I was like, no, I think we should do it as a conversation.
And episode 10 was a conversational
Episode 10 was a conversation.
that worked really well. I mean, circumstances dictated, but it worked really well. And the feedback that we've had is that it was really good. So,
Yeah.
So yeah.
So we're doing this. So we're just going to take this conversation now. Word of warning. It might take some loops and twists and turns.
Yeah.
And chances are that we're just going to power through. We're going to have this conversation. So you're on a ride now, and we're going to take you places we probably don't even see coming.
Yeah.
And then we might have to split it up into two
Yeah, we'll
parts.
we'll look at that. We'll look at that after we finish recording, see how long it is,
Yeah.
see how it fits and stuff.
Yeah.
Plus, we've both got really busy schedules over the next.
Yes. Do you want to fill in
weeks.
now, or do you want to wait?
We'll wait.
Okay.
We'll wait.
So yeah, we both have a couple of really busy weeks coming up, and we have the kitchen refurb.
Yes.
Daunting.
Yes.
But I think we're both in a place where we're like,
yeah,
we'll be good.
We have. We've.
But we'll see.
Been over it and over it. And
There'll
over
definitely
it and over it.
be an episode covering that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, we shall see what today's episode sort of evolves into. Yeah, exactly. So we named this episode The Physical Frequency.
Yeah.
And as astute listeners who have clocked the title, we've spelt frequency a little differently.
Yeah.
So we were playing around with ideas, and you mentioned it, and then I, used ChatGPT just to, run a couple of ideas by it, and physical has been spelled with PH.
Yep.
Do you want to talk a bit about
as is frequency?
Oh, sorry. Yes, exactly. I was like, yes, no, you're correct. Yes. So physical obviously spelled with PH because that's how you spell physical, but frequency.
I don't think we should elaborate on it any in this episode. I think we should give people a chance to see if they can work it out for themselves, and then at the start of the next episode, we can kind of just do a quick dip back and go, this was the thinking behind it, the logic behind it. Okay.
Well, then you just totally removed the way that I was going to lead us in. So you take it away. How are we starting the conversation?
Okay. Well, if I've just
no, you just podcast blocked me. So you go ahead and how do we how do you want to start this then? Where do you want to start the conversation?
This is the beauty of doing it raw.
We're back to doing it raw, but different raw than it's been the last 3 episodes.
Yes. Yeah. Where to start? I suppose let's go kind of like right back to.
Well, okay, no, right. So let's do. What does a physical frequency? What does physical health mean to you? Let's identify that. Then.
Okay. So
what is? We've talked about mental health in a couple of episodes 8 and 9.
Yeah.
So what does physical health mean to you?
Weight, fitness, not necessarily in this order of priority.
And when you say weight, what do you mean by that?
Well, obviously not.
Because we can get in.
Sorry, creaky chair. I didn't.
Yes.
Move.
So what's happening is we're both struggling a bit with a focus today. So we're in our comfy seats.
Yes.
And that means that you're in the creaky chair.
So what do I mean by weight?
The reason why I'm asking about weight is because obviously when we're talking about physical health, and we're talking about weight, we cannot get around having a conversation about the bullshit monitor index, also known as BMI.
Yeah. When I talk about weight, what I mean to that is being at a weight where you're not causing harm to yourself when you're moving about and stuff like that. So obviously, if you're carrying excess weight, if you're doing physical activity, it puts pressure on your joints, et cetera, et cetera. Now, my physical bone structure and whatnot, I've big boned. I've got larger bone, thicker bone structure. So naturally, it can it can carry more weight. So
being mindful of your physical skeleton structure compared to the actual physical weight that you're carrying. That's what you mean.
And it's, and I'll touch on, I went through a big weight loss journey.
Okay, so you said weight, then you said fitness.
So that's just about your stamina, your strength, these things, that allow you to do the things that you want to do. it's yeah, you know, I don't need to be able to run 15 seconds in the 100 meters, you know, let alone some of the ridiculous speeds of it, you know. But I want to be able to get out, go about, walk about, run, and having the core fitness to allow you to do that, because that's very different from weight. Because you can be the skinniest person in the world and not be able to run 100 meters. You know, you can be a bigger person and be running marathons. It's you know, it's yeah. So it's about that fitness, so the stamina, as I say, stamina, strength, things. And I suppose the tricky one for me, and whether it falls into physical or not, is body image and how we perceive our body image. That's one that kind of that because it's a physical thing. But when you start talking about how you perceive yourself, that's a mental process. You know, so that's a crossover. I think that's a crossover point. And I think, and it's very, very difficult to separate mental health from physical health. In a lot of things, I think one impacts the other and vice versa, or can impact the other.
Yeah, I'm not sure that they are on total opposite ends of the scale, if you know what I mean. Like there's definitely an interlinked there, as we've talked about, and as is the situation with me. Like I can feel if my physical activity is decreased for one reason or another, that my mental health falls a bit behind. Obviously there are other parameters that plays into that, you know. And equally, I don't think that because you are physically very active, if you are a marathon runner, or if you are a high performance athlete of any kind, that you're naturally therefore on top of your mental health, and therefore happying, that was what we talked about, happying differently.
Yes.
Like so they're definitely interconnected, but for me they're not. They're like,
being healthy in one does not mean healthy in the other.
Yes, exactly.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
Yeah. I totally agree.
But then
with
again,
that.
I also don't think that being bad in one equally means that you're bad in the other.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. They are linked, but not. It's not a linear on both sides type.
It's not a
relationship.
seesaw.
Yeah, yeah. So that's kind of what physical means for me. Is there anything beyond that that you think we need to?
Yeah. So obviously, like I have a very different relationship to scale weight.
Yep.
You know, being a shorter woman, and my whole experience with body mass index and the number on the scale, that has always been very hard for me, for many years. I wanted to get a breast reduction operation, and I was constantly met with not necessarily criticism or
need to meet a BMI number.
Yeah, exactly. But it wasn't necessarily like, but it was just like, well, this specific mathematical equation says that you are severely overweight moving into obese, and you need to take care of that. And I'm like, what part of my body is it that you want, like, you know? And I understand, you know, I've had this conversation with so many different medical professionals, and that there is a health validity to BMI. I just find it very interesting that the overall emphasis that's put on a specific BMI number is only relevant in the public health service here in the UK and in Denmark, whereas if you go private, it's interpreted completely different, and they actually look at you. Whereas if you're going through the public health way, it is only a number. They don't look at any pictures of you. They don't take anything into consideration. And then again, being a woman who is experiencing her monthly bleed, being on her period, and the weight fluctuations that comes with that, the water that your body holds and all of that, none of those things were ever taken into consideration. And I don't think that that's something that it's recently is something that's definitely seeing the light. But like, I was never believed. Like, I have had a difference on a scale weight of 8 pounds from within 36 hours. You know, and I'm talking like morning weight at the same, well, obviously not, so it would be 48 hours. You know, 8 pounds, that's 4 kilos. 4 kilos at the same time, like in the morning, where your food has been digested, any water that your body has been, like water retention, things like that. You know, 4 kilos in 48 hours. That's crazy. And if you're only putting an emphasis on scale weight, that has nothing to do with physical health for me. See, nothing.
I've also experienced the BMI thing. Insofar as I'm 6'2". I'm broad-shouldered, big, burly bloke. But if you look at these like BMI charts, I should be like 15 stone. So I've spoken to some medical professionals on the BMI front who've gone, oh yeah, and you get your BMI down. I said, well, in order to get my BMI down, I need to lose more weight. And they're going, yeah. And then I've spoken to other ones and they've gone, that for you to be that weight would be dangerous. To your health. You know, so I can just touch on it. I have a vitamin B12 deficiency. And one of the problem that's created for me is peripheral neuropathy. So I basically, it's not as bad as it used to be, but I had lost almost all sensation in my feet and a little bit in my hands. You know, so when I was going through the 2 years of tests and everything and whatnot before they discovered what it was, so I was speaking to one who was going, it's your weight, you need to get your BMI down to this. And then I was speaking to another and they were going, oh no, that's dangerous. And part of that was I had to go for an ultrasound so they could check for something. I want to say pulmonary aneurysm, but I
in
might
your
be using the wrong term. No, in my abdomen.
Oh, in your abdomen.
So they were looking at problems with the feet for circulation, etc. And they were looking at things that could affect that. And I was getting the ultrasound, and the operator that was doing the ultrasound turned around and said to me, he says, I've got some good news for you. You're only fat on the outside.
Which is really very good news. Really very good news.
You know, so absolutely. And for various jobs and various things I've done throughout my life, I've had to get medicals done and whatnot. And even as a bigger guy, I've always been told like my heart health is really good. You know, and things like cholesterol and whatnot, I don't have issues with. You know, so don't automatically assume because you're big you will have these health problems. And I was kind of fortunate to go through this battery of tests and actually get some real information on it. But it was also a trigger for me, or part of the trigger for me to go, okay, these are not a problem. I don't want them to become one. You know, so that kind of helped spur me along with some stuff as well. But yeah, you know, it's like as I've joked previously, if you look at these BMI charts and these weight height charts and things and whatnot, I should be 9 feet tall. You know, so it's not that I'm overweight; it's I'm under tall.
Well, I mean, you could say that about me, but you know.
So
so like for me, scale weight is not connected to physical health. For me, it is that it's like, can you do the things that you want to do?
Yes.
And are you future proofing yourself? So will you be able to bend down and pick something up if you drop it?
Yep.
You know, are you going to be able to put your own shoes on, and
Socks.
can you, the socks, for example. But it's also like, can you walk? Can you move? Can you walk upstairs? Are you secure enough on your feet for that? And then there's an additional element, and that definitely ties into the mental health part of it.
Yep.
But like, how is your body performing?
Yep.
And how do you tackle the everyday stress levels? And how do you deal with the emotional conflicts that you'll see throughout your everyday? And I think if your physical health are not is not at a level where that comes very natural, and if things like that feels like a struggle, then so that's where the physical
and
health
it's not to say that carrying too much weight isn't bad for you. It's just that there's no one size fits all mathematical equation necessarily for looking at that, such as what they try to do with BMI.
But I mean, BMI, as I referenced to it, you know, previously, like for me, it's just, you know, a bullshit. It's just bullshit.
Yeah.
Like it's a mathematical equation that does not take anything into account except for numbers.
Yeah.
Very clinical numbers. Your height and your weight. Like, what is it? Is it your height,
weight, and age? I think is
squared,
also
height squared divided by your,
I don't know,
weight or whatever. I don't know. It's such a stupid, like, it's just don't go down that rabbit hole. So yes, so that's sort of like where I'm at with like the definition of physical health for me.
Yep. So where do we go next?
Okay.
Where do we want to go next?
Right. I think maybe then move in a little bit to the body image element of it, right? Because I think that's one of the things that I'm really struggling with, and always have struggled with. Like, I have never had any concept of, you know, what I look like and what my body looks like and what I look like compared to others and things like that. Which again ties into that whole thing. If you're being told, I mean, it started a lot earlier for me with this sort of like, I mean, it was definitely not body dysmorphia, because I didn't think I was something else. Yeah. Like, I didn't think I was bigger than I was, or I didn't think that I was smaller than I was. I had absolutely no concept of what I look like. And still to this day, I will look at pictures of myself and I will only know that it's me in the picture because I kind of sort of remember the picture being taken. Yeah. Not because I recognize my face or because I recognize myself, or like, it's very strange. It's very strange. And I've never been comfortable. I've never been comfortable with mirrors. Yeah. Again, not necessarily because I didn't like what I saw. Yeah. I'm at a stage now where I don't like what I see, which is really hard. But that's also tied into the whole thing with like how my body has changed in the last couple of years. Now, my body looks the way that my body has looked for the majority of my adult life. Yep. So there is nothing extraordinary about it. Like, this is the size that I am. This is the like I fit in all of my clothes. Like, there's nothing out of the ordinary of how I look right now. Yeah. But it's not how I don't feel happy about it. Okay. so yeah, I didn't feel. Yeah, so body image is quite a big thing for me.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just going to close the door.
Is that rain?
The lady, it's the No, it's the tarp.
Oh, okay. Somebody's folding a tarp out in the garden next door.
Yeah, there we go. We can either edit this out, or you have just been on a little journey with us. So I think maybe body image is a good.
Yeah, and this is the thing about body image as well. It doesn't necessarily. Now I want to say this in the right way. I could sit here and tell you how wonderful you look, and because I think you do. I think I think you're in proportion. I think all those things. But when it comes to body image, it's what you yourself see and believe. Yeah. People can say things on the negative that can absolutely feed into that.
But isn't that so interesting, right?
Yeah.
It's so much easier believing or latching on to that really negative comment than it is believing the positives. Like I was seeing this guy many moons ago in my youth, and he'd made this comment, and it's a comment that I've heard so many times, like so many times throughout my life in various versions, but he just put it so bluntly and straight to my face. He was like, oh my God, like, you would be the perfect woman if only you lost 10 kilos.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But then because of the attention that my body has always got, and this is quite interesting, like, I mean, this is totally derailing us a little bit, and
No, it's not at all.
I'm sure we'll touch back in on it again. But like, I think that subconsciously, or as a sort of like self-preservation mechanism, I think that I carry the weight and I make myself unhappy about my body as a self-preservation thing.
Okay.
Because if I am unhappy about my body, and if I carry myself with that unhappiness, I move through life differently.
Okay.
And that means that I won't get the attention from specifically men.
Yeah.
Because if I find myself unattractive, I will carry myself and hold myself differently. And then they will find me unattractive, and then they won't pay me any attention. Yeah. In situations where I have felt really beautiful and felt really confident and really sexy and just like really been very happy with where I am fully aware that I carry myself differently, and the energy that I give off is very different. So when I'm comfortable, and I'm comfortable in myself and comfortable in my skin, I then get an exponential amount of attention that I am not interested in. And it has been like that throughout my entire life. So I think as a survival mechanism, almost, I started carrying weight because then they were no longer interested and I didn't have to deal with it.
Be alone. Yeah.
Because like, I don't eat unhealthily. I eat very balanced. I've always walked a lot. I've always moved a lot. I've not been able to stick with like proper exercise routines for many years. But I also think because I was very active when I was young, and there is that muscle memory. Yeah. So as soon as I do exercise on a very regular basis and I keep up with it for a while, I have experienced that it's easier for me to drop the weight.
Yeah.
Or not necessarily drop the weight, but tone my body, which is two very different things again.
Yeah.
And since I don't own a scale anymore, I don't actually know whether or not it's dropping the weight, but tone my body.
Yeah.
And then that attention returns. So I actually think that my body holds on to stuff. Okay. And the more unhappy I am, the more my body tries to protect me.
Yep.
And then my hormones and my levels and that changes. Yeah. Yeah. Which then again feeds into your body image and your self image.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, it's that all makes sense. That all makes sense. You know, we're going to split this one
it's
up
definitely going to be a
two-parter. We're about an hour and a half in total, so that'll give two nice kind of commute length episodes for it. So
okay, well then let's finish this off. Thank you so much for tuning in to Shared Frequencies and the Space Between.
We hope our conversation today has helped you find a little more clarity in your own space between, whatever that may look like.
And remember, it's okay to be a work in progress. We're all just figuring it out one frequency at a time.
So if you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who might need to hear it.
And until next time, keep tuning in and finding the space that works for you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.